It's not crazy to think the military might be spraying things in the sky, especially because biological, chemical, and radioactive agents known to be toxic have been sprayed everywhere in the United States. Since whooping cough was sprayed along Florida's Gulf Coast, gases and hallucinogens were sprayed in Maryland and Utah, and giant canisters of pimento Cheez-Whiz were sprayed all over the Texas panhandle. Now, I should mention that the last example has not been verified. And just to be completely transparent, I am also still looking into whether humongous tubs of vaginal jelly were sprayed on the banks of the Mississippi River, and whether 700 pounds of silly string were sprayed onto one particular man named Kyle who lives in Vermont. Those three are unconfirmed. However, it is confirmed that a dry fluorescent powder called zinc cadmium sulfide was sprayed for 2 decades over Iowa, Nebraska, South Dakota, and Virginia, despite the fact that military scientists knew that cadmium is toxic. And it's not just our military either. For example, in Thailand, Vietnamese troops, assisted by the Soviet Union, sprayed a poisonous aerosol substance that sounded like and resembled rain, apart from the fact that it was frequently yellow. This is why, in 1979, the substance became known as yellow rain in the media, as reports began to surface of yellow powder falling from airplanes. And despite multiple eyewitness accounts, a Harvard scientist came forward and claimed that yellow rain was nothing more than bee defecation, which is just a perfect example of why we can never trust the science, okay? Because a sticky, viscous liquid fell from the sky onto rooftops, trees, skin, and clothing. Innocent people developed respiratory issues, blurred eyesight, and blisters. And science said that it was all caused by a bunch of bees taking a shit at the exact same time, as if they held a rehearsal for it. And keep in mind that this substance was seen falling from airplanes and was described as yellow that could eat through leaves and grass. Yellow that could kill people. In fact, according to some estimates, anywhere from 20 to 40,000 people died because an entire colony of bees performed synchronized diarrhea. That's the official explanation that we received from science. And what I want to know is if anyone even bothered to ask the scientist what would make millions of bees take an emergency dump. Did somebody poison their pollen with black coffee and chimichanga sauce? I mean, it's ridiculous, and it's downright disrespectful. At least when things are sprayed in the West, scientists are a little more honest about it. Take scientist David Keith, for example, another Harvard man who openly announced at a geoengineering seminar that 10 to 20 megatons per year of aerosolized aluminum will be sprayed into the atmosphere, which to me sounds like an excessive amount of aluminum to just be spraying in the atmosphere, especially when you consider that these are nano-sized aluminum particles, which are basically tiny microscopic pieces of shredded soda cans that can slip up the olfactory neural tracts into the brain. This causes inflammation that leads to Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and Lou Gehrig's diseases. It's also worth mentioning that aluminum blocks nerve impulses, dulls thinking, and impairs coordination. Plus, aluminum is a desiccant, which sucks nutrients and moisture from the soil and air and produces insufficient chlorophyll for photosynthesis. So it seems to me that when all of these things are taken into consideration, that 10 to 20 megatons might be a bit too much. I mean, can we at least get rid of the mega and just start with regular tons? Because pretty soon, if you leave the house without an umbrella, you'll return home from work coated in metal, like the Tin Man. You gotta wake up. Don't slap snooze.